What I wanted to call out and, ignore the specific names because I've kind of redid the tables a few times. But if you use those functions, you kind of follow, you can kind of write them in order. So when I did it, I first ran the history one, and it kind of gave me an idea of what is the primary snapshot for that particular table. And then I looked at the snapshots as well. And the snapshots table shows me that this particular snapshot was appended by this client, right? My Spark app. We appended rows into it. And then when I look at the entries, this is the actual data file entries, data files that were created. I can see that there were 3 files created. Now, the status on the left side, now number 1 means added, like a file was added. If it was 0, it already exists. If it's 2, then it was deleted. So at least I can look here and I can say, okay, 3 files were actually added into the table. And this is the location, right? This is the URL, and the data file is the URL. And if I track it, I can see that under the metadata folder, I create a table, and then I have this pointer. And if I look at the glue catalog, it's going to point to this particular file. That's the entry point for the iceberg table. And then I ran the insert into command, right? And then it created these additional files. It created another another JSON file that points to the same snapshot ID, and then created a snapshot file. So what you see here is that there's actually 2 metadata files. The first one was just create a table, so there's nothing in it, right? And then the second one was created again, right? Like a new metadata file was created. The glue catalog was pointing now to this new one, C01 instead of 00. And that one is referring to snapshot 2422. And then underneath that snapshot, there's a manifest list, a file that contains a list of manifest files, right? And actually, there's only one in it, which is the CA806E2B. That is the actual manifest file that holds the list of files. So if we go back way up here, right, we created this metadata file, right? Then underneath it, there's an Avro file that has a list. And underneath that, there's another Avro file that has a list of data files. And then we have the physical data files, right? So that's kind of how it all flows together. Cool. So the next step is how do we update rows? So there's an update command like update blah, 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 but there's also this merge command. And merge command in Iceberg and in Spark is the best way to update data. You can also insert override, but that's a bit more brute force, I would say. It has some corner cases that you probably want to stay away from. Plus, it's not as flexible. So this merge command is actually fairly simple to do, right? And what you do here is you basically merge data into a table, and you tell it, which column you're going to select. In my case, I'm just using dummy data, but you'd have a select star or select columns from a particular table. And then you're going to say whether you're going to, whenever you match on the ID, you're going to either update the data or you're going to insert the data. You can also add one in here that says delete. So, we ran that command, and now, kind of ignore the top, is a little busy. But basically what happens is we ran the update command. Now we have this new this new metadata pointer. You can see the number is incremented to 2 now. The snapshot is different, right? It's 9009 as opposed to 298. We can see it here. And then that metadata file now points to a new snapshot, right? Because we made changes. So we created a new snapshot that represents the new state of the table. And then underneath it, there is a pointer to this Avro file. And there's actually 2 Avro files inside of this main snapshot. There's the M0 Avro and there's the M1 Avro. The M0 Avro basically says that there's 3 files in it. 2 of them are already existing, and one of them is a deleted file. And then there's the M1 Avro, which says, hey, I'm a manifest list that's pointing to one new Parquet file that contains additional information. So if you can look here in the history, we see that we started with a 298 snapshot. Now we moved on to 9009. That's the active one. And then we look here, we see that the first one was append. So we appended some rows. And the second one, 9009, is an overwrite. We're actually overwriting data. And the way we're doing it, if we look at the physical files, now we actually have 4 physical files. Before we only had 3. Now, if we look at the status bit, we see that the 2 middle ones, 298s, are 0, which means they existed. So these are files that already existed with the rows that already existed. So this is the Roy column 1, ID 1 column Roy and ID 2 Shantana. And then we're overriding ID 3, which was originally Jason. Now it's Ori. So in this case, we're seeing that one file was marked as delete. It wasn't physically deleted, but it was marked as delete. And then another file was marked as added, right? And they're both part of the same snapshot. Does that make sense? And now we also see here that the added one, because it's the same snapshot, the sequence number increased, which means that this file is the priority. This file is going to take priority over the deleted file, which means when we merge all these files together, we're going to ignore, or we're not going to merge this last one because it's a deleted file. I know it's a little bit of complicated, lots of pointers and arrows and stuff, but this is kind of the gist of how this works.